Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually going to react to how police think David did it. This is a David and Celeste situation. If you guys don't know, this David guy actually had found the Celeste girl in his Tesla in a parking lot. Right? She was actually underage and she died underage. Rest in peace to her. So right now, that police actually had to hold him and stuff like that. So we're going to get a nice little update on how the situation has actually unfolded. If you like this video, put a like on it.
So singer David has just been arrested for allegedly Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he is going to trial. But what you got to understand is this trial ain't going to be simple. It's going to be a dogfight. Now, to understand why I said that, you got to understand what the police believe happened. Now, they charged David with 3 things, and these 3 charges are gonna tell us the story of what police believe happened. I need you to just wait and listen closely. Okay, look, first they charged David with Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Okay, then they charged him with seeing Celeste Rivas Hernandez while she was at an age that he should not have been seeing her at. If you don't know how old she was, look in the comments. Then they charged him with interfering with an investigation. Now, again, these 3 things tell us what police believe happened. Okay, what they say again, they said they believe that David Celeste, right? But something I forgot to tell you is they said under special circumstances, including lying in wait, that means kind of like ambushing, and somebody for financial gain. So what you can kind of guess from this is they're saying that David must have lured her to the crib, basically saying, look, come through to the crib, like I need to talk to you real quick. And then her for financial gain. They said David also her for financial gain. What that mean? Well, that means that David must have been doing this to preserve his career. Okay, you'll understand what that means when we go to that next charge. Again, remember, they said David was seeing Celeste at an age that he should not have been seeing her. So what you can kind of guess.
Young fellas out there, never see no young lady on the age. If you're above the age, stay away. Stay away. No matter how good she look, stay away.
Is Celeste must have told David, look, you finna be exposed. You're seeing me at an age that you should not be seeing me. Maybe we having an argument or something, and I'm finna expose you right now. David said, oh, come through to the crib real quick. I need to talk to you, lying in wait. And then her for financial gain, because if he doesn't, she's about to expose him, his career is gonna be ruined. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah. Let's go to that 3rd charge that we were talking about. David interfering with an investigation. What that means? So that investigation could be Celeste reporting him, saying, look, David's seeing me at an age he should not be seeing me. And him and Celeste, that interferes with an investigation. Maybe Celeste's parents went to the police. The police were investigating David, Celeste. That includes messing with an investigation. So basically what you can kind of infer is Celeste was probably going to expose David, and David her for it. But here's where things start to get wicked.
If something like that was actually true and that really had happened, that's actually pretty much crazy. Something have to be wrong with that guy. Stay away from the young ladies.
I said earlier, this trial is gonna be a dogfight. And how you know it's gonna be a fight is because of the fact that police took so long to arrest David. That tells you 2 things. 1, the police evidence is not 100%. It's gonna be circumstantial. And 2, they wanted to make sure that that evidence they got can't be countered by David's lawyer so easily. What does that mean? Well, the district attorney basically said it himself. He said, look, we don't have David doing this right in front of a camera. We had to be in the mud with it. Like, we had to figure out all of the evidence possible. We also got to make sure all of the rumors and the false evidence gets disproven too, because David's lawyer's finna use that against us as well. The police chief slides in. He gets kind of defensive. He said, look, all y'all saying we was taking too long, this and that. Like, we was in the weeds. Like, we was in the mud doing this. Like, we was working hard. Like, he wasn't getting that passionate, but like he was pretty passionate. He like, look, dude, like we took long because like we had to make sure all of our ducks were in a row. If 12 can't convince 12, then we lose. See, what a lot of people don't remember is, yeah, police are gonna have their case no matter how clear that it may seem. David's gonna have a lawyer on the other side and say, well, maybe that's not as clear as we think it is, huh? For example, let's say the trial happens. The prosecutor said, look, David texted her right here saying, pull up April 21st. David's lawyer finna be like, how you know she actually pulled up? Okay, shoot. Do we got her on camera pulling up on April 21st? See, that's the evidence that they got to search for. They said, look, we got her on camera pulling up in the area.
Correct.
David's lawyer finna be like, oh no, David never saw her that night though. Maybe she got lost. Maybe she just went back home. How you know she was actually there? Oh no, we got evidence that she was there from forensics and all that. Okay. What if they just had a simple conversation though and she left and then something happened to her outside? How y'all know David did it for real? Well, we believe David did it for all of these other little reasons. You see, that's what I mean by a fight. They have to have the utmost proof. Because sometimes people be sitting there on a jury. It takes that one juror to be like, well, David's lawyer finna jump on people's doubts. He's gonna say, are y'all 100% beyond a reasonable doubt positive that David did it with all that? Remember, like I said earlier, she could have just left the crib. David didn't see her. Somebody else might have did it. True. And then the jurors start questioning themselves. True. And then all of a sudden you lose.
It'll be technical because they could say, it could come down to where they could say somebody else was actually there. Somebody else had access to his car. Then they had to try to find out who had access to his car, how she ended up there, all those different stuff like that. They could say he was on top. That's so much a different thing. So you actually
again,
correct.
Police said not this time. We're gonna have a counter for their counters and a counter for their counters. So we'll see how good of a job police and the investigators did come trial. Now, something else you got to note is the little things that go on behind the trial so you can get the edge. This is what I mean. So this is actual police going into David's house. There's like 20 police officers that stormed in. This is basically police saying, see, David's pretty dangerous. Like, we really had to pull up in force. It's what police do to already try to shape the minds of people before a trial. An example of this being the perp walk. It shows police efficiency. It shows, look at this guy. He don't look like he an innocent guy. Like, look how many officers. Look at the stuff we have with us. You really believe he's innocent? Fine. But it's in the fact that they also said David might be getting the penalty. This can also be used as leverage in a sort of sense between the prosecutors and David's lawyers. They can say, look, dude, True. We can give him the penalty. What if we just remove the penalty, give him life in prison, and y'all just say David did it? This can go 50-50. Are you really going to bet your client's life on that? David's lawyer is probably going to be like, hell no, let's go to 9 yards, let's go for it. But it's just another strategy that police have in their back pocket. It's the fact that they charged him with these three things. They said, look, just in case we can't prove that David Celeste, the fact that he was seeing her, okay, that's probably going to go through, and he can get a lot of years for that. So no matter what, they gave him three charges that might carry some large max sentences. Yeah. So they're saying, look, he might get the max sentence for the fact that he was seeing Celeste at of a certain age. And if he gets the max sentence for that, that is a lengthy sentence on its own. Disrupting an investigation. If he gets a max sentence, that might be a lengthy sentence on its own. You see, just in case, they have their contingency. They want to make sure that he gets some years regardless. But of course, they're going to go for the big one that he...
Now come no difference from the Diddy case, right? Diddy was actually supposed to be in there for a very long time. The cut down, and the end, he actually still had was to serve a certain amount of time in jail, like 3 years or something like that. So he actually still has to serve. So something like that will happen with him. So even if they can't put him on one, they'll actually have to throw him on the others, which the age thing was one, and Yeah.
It's kind of like Diddy's trial. Diddy basically had one charge that didn't carry a lot of years, a middle charge that carried a good amount of years, and a final charge that carried life in prison. Diddy got found not guilty on the two bigger charges. He only got found guilty on the one that carried a little bit of years. But where it gets a tiny bit deeper is these charges that may be easy to prove that may not carry a lot of years can really range depending on the circumstances. In Diddy's case, he already served a prior sentence. Like, he was sitting there in jail waiting for trial. Right. So Diddy's lawyer may come out and say, look, he was already sitting there for like a year or two. Like, the charge that he got only carries like a year. Come on, y'all got to just let him go. In David's case, since the circumstances are absolutely atrocious, The judge in David's case might just be like, max sentence. I don't care. You can say what you want. I don't care. Like, basically, David better get not guilty on all his charges, or a judge is probably going to look at him and say, because of these insane, wild circumstances, boy, you finna sit in prison for a good while. David's lawyer might open his mouth and say, but judge gonna say, shut up, he going to jail. But again, this can go a million different ways. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the prosecutors have. We're gonna have to wait and see what David's lawyers come up with to counter what those prosecutors have as well.
Can't be out to do increasing us like that, right? Are we actually taking...
I've actively followed the David case since the information started breaking 7 months ago, and I want to give you the latest update on it. So 2 days ago, most of you know, David was arrested following a lengthy investigation, but he wasn't immediately charged. He was held without bail, but they didn't announce any charges at the time. Today that has changed. They have announced the charges here, and if found guilty, they could carry a maximum penalty of life in prison or even the death penalty.
These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Anyone who's followed this case even loosely probably isn't surprised to hear those.
And he's actually only at the age of 21. That's crazy.
Charges being announced there. The evidence has been overwhelming. He hasn't been found guilty yet, but I gotta tell you, I think even Saul Goodman would struggle handling a case like this. And these aren't the only charges he's facing. There's also additional charges as well.
Before I get into the actual charges, and there are additional charges against Mr. Berg, including continuous sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old, and mutilating a human remains of a body.
This case is about as disgusting as it gets.
Wow.
And
Actually
again,
crazy.
it did take a while getting here, but I imagine the fact that they have now arrested and brought these charges forth means that they have sufficient evidence to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that David is guilty of these crimes for which he is accused. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence available to the public, by the way, right there at your fingertips. And even still, and I know I mentioned this in the last video, but I just can't get over just how bafflingly insane this is. There are David defenders. I'm talking about David drones that are constantly fighting tooth and nail, trying to proclaim his innocence, saying that this is all a frame job. And
that would actually be when you're near fans. Your fans actually would not want you to go to jail and stuff like that. It could be anything. It could be a streamer. It could be an actor. It could be what. It will actually have fans who support you 100%, no matter what the situation. Yeah, no matter what the situation is, they will actually support you 100%.
he's been set up. Which is crazy to me, because no matter how you spin this, there is irrefutable evidence to confirm that at the very least, David was in a relationship with a child. And these dummies for David, this movement here, likes to plug their ears to that fact and just dodge it. But it's like trying to dodge the rain. It's impossible to overlook that because it is fucking vile. And it is not based on circumstantial evidence, which is the buzzword they love to use in regards to this case when defending David. That is provable that he was dating Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a child. And according to authorities, his motive for her murder was to protect his career because she had apparently threatened to report their sexual relationship. She was reported missing by her family in 2024 when she was 13. And according to the allegation in a criminal complaint, the singer engaged in continuous sexual abuse of her for at least a year from September 2023 to September 2024. And then when she was 14, they believe she was killed with a sharp object on or around April 23rd of 2025 when she was heading to the singer's house in the Hollywood Hills. This is the first time her cause of death has been publicized. Her body was chopped into pieces and stuffed in the back of David's trunk, his vehicle's trunk.
I'm not gonna lie, Charlie actually 100% raw. This guy don't hold back.
So it was especially difficult for
yeah.
authorities to figure out what actually killed her here, because her body was decomposing and in pieces, which is where that...
Yeah, but talking on a serious note, that's actually real sad. You know, to be as a parent, to actually see something like that happen to your child, I don't think there is any way you could actually feel comfortable. There's no way you could actually feel normal. Yeah, and someone saying, I could simply say, for simple as when my grandma saw my mother passed away, it wasn't something easy for her, because no parents actually want their children to go before them. So that's actually something that's pretty sad that actually had happened to her.
Mutilation of human remains charge comes from. Now, I want to briefly opine on that motive they allege here in this case, because based on all available information, that does track. There are photos and videos of David and Celeste together, and members of his community knew about their relationship. Notably, some of his moderators were aware of it, though, according to their own PR statement they put out to try and debunk the claims that they knew about it and said nothing, they defended themselves by saying that, yes, they knew about her, but they didn't know her age nor her status as a missing person. I have no idea if that's true or not, or if they're just desperately trying to cover their own assholes there, but the point is, people did know David was in a relationship with this girl, and if she made a reference to letting people know her age, then it stands to reason that David would panic, fearing that it would jeopardize his career, which was blowing up at the time. And maybe in that panic, he took drastic measures and killed her in order to protect that from getting out.
Calling People versus David Anthony Burke. That's case number 26 CJC F02399.
Good morning or good afternoon, Your Honor. Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter on behalf of our client David Burke, who's in custody.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Burke. For the people.
Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman for the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. And counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, unsurprisingly, David and his legal team are entering a plea of not guilty. They are looking to fight the charges. That should not come as a surprise to anyone. This shouldn't be something that has someone's mouth fucking hit the floor, jaw agape, recoil, and fly into the back of their chair like, what? Who could have seen that coming? That is standard procedure. There is no dimension in the multiverse where David was going to come in here fucking representing himself and just be like, yeah, I'm guilty, and I'm sorry, and then hit like a fucking power chord on the ukulele. That was never going to be the case. Because if he does plead guilty, he is facing those charges head on, and he might avoid the death penalty, but it's still going to be life in prison. So there was always going to be a not guilty plea entered from David's team here. That is not a shock at all.
So we are asking for a preliminary hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for April 23rd as a 3 of 10, Your Honor.
Anything from the people?
We'll be very happy to put on the evidence that we've collected in this case in the last several months.
Thank you. So the matter will be set. Plea of not guilty has been entered on.
So David's team is looking to move lickety-split. They're trying to speed run this process here. They're going for a court any percent gold split, and everyone's willing to play ball here. The other side saying, okay, you know what? We're extremely happy to do that. We would love to showcase the evidence that we've compiled over these 7 months. And what was very surprising is what came after this section.
Given almost no discovery thus far, we've received a 3-page follow-up report no autopsy report, and a copy of the complaint. And we would ask the people respectfully to produce discovery at the earliest opportunity.
Your Honor, as I indicated to counsel, there's approximately 40 terabytes of discovery in this case. Moreover, in order to obtain the transcripts from a grand jury investigation, counsel has to file a motion. She knows the way the system works. I'm not able to gather those. They have to be provided after the court orders them released because it was an investigation. Second of all, if counsel plans on going to a preliminary hearing within the 10 days, it is unlikely that there will be very much discovery provided within that period, given the voluminous nature and how long it's going to take to copy onto drives.
40 fucking terabytes of evidence they have gathered against David from the sound of...
Actually, hear that I scream out and 40 terabytes. You know, it's 40 terabytes. You know, it's a full out even 1 terabyte. 40 terabytes of stuff on you. That is like basically that come like your whole life. You understand? That is actually a lot of memory of evidence. A lot.
Things. That is an unfathomable amount.
Correct.
Now, the way that information just came out, the chess pieces that got set up on the board here were David's team made a mention of the discovery, or lack thereof, that they were unsatisfied really with where discovery was there. So then it was mentioned, well, discovery is going to be kind of hard here because of how much volume there is. 40 terabytes, and you're looking to set up a preliminary hearing within such a short time frame. It's going to be extremely difficult for us to get all of that information to you for this discovery. And also, they made a reference to discovery with, like, the grand jury. Can't really do anything about that. That needs to come from a court order. But the shocking piece of information there was how much evidence they seemingly have against David here from their investigation.
That's crazy
40 terabytes is a ridiculous amount of anything in...
If you say 1 terabyte would have actually been a lot. But it might not be understandable because they could have said video footage and stuff like that. And 1 terabyte, right, but 40 terabytes is insane. That is actually overkill in evidence.
General. So that is...
It is like simple. We actually want to get rid of him. We want to make sure that he pay for the crime. If he's actually the guy who did it, right? It's still alleged at this point in time. Right, so still want to make sure that if he's the guy that did it, to have all the substantial evidence for the crime. Insane.
That's a lot. That really is a lot. That caught me by surprise, because there's a lot of evidence out there available to the public in this case about David and everything here. But 40 terabytes is more than I would have possibly envisioned for this. So anyway, it looks like they're going to be moving this along very fast. So I guess we'll be getting more and more information pretty quickly. I just wanted to give you the update to things now that the charges are out there. And again, personally, I feel David is definitely guilty in the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I think all of the evidence points to him being the only one that it could possibly be. I don't think he was framed. And again, it is proven that he was in a relationship with this child. So that additional charge of the lewd and lascivious acts with a minor, I think there is no possible defense they could even begin to squeak out there in that charge alone, let alone everything else that is available for everything else in regards to her death, as well as her body being chopped up, the mutilation of her corpse, all of that, all seems to point directly to David. But I guess we'll find out as this process continues. Anyway, fucking awful stuff, man. This case is so fucking gross. Crazy. And I really hope that there will be justice for Celeste here. Anyway, that's really about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much correct. That was actually some crazy stuff to actually get to hear all the charges and stuff like that. We actually being charged with. She was on age 1, so if you actually had a relationship with her, may it be sexual, etc., that is actually crazy. So he'll actually be charged for that. They have a second thing they actually will charge him for, and then have where the unalive come into place, which is pretty much crazy. If you guys like this video, put a like on it. If you guys want to keep up with the case, I will actually be covering the case and updates and stuff like that on this channel, so you guys could be updated if you guys subscribe to this channel as well. hit a like, comment below, let me actually know what you guys think about this video as well. Pretty sad stuff, but it is what it is.